Alright guys, let's compare Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare with Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, which is a remastered version of the original Modern Warfare. As you can see on the screen right now, the first thing I'm going to compare is going to be Gas. He's one of the NPC characters in the game. The first thing I want to look at is the background. As you can see in the background, I think it's the same scene because I did work pretty hard on this thing, capturing the same areas. The background, it's different. The texture is different. There's actually a board back there with some notes and some to-do list and some safety thingies, I presume. And then let's go over to the character. Gas himself, he's actually dressed in all black, just like he is in the original version. Except that the black looks different because the colors are better in the new version, in the remastered version of Call of Duty 4. As you can see in his helmet and his suit, the black is more rich. Meanwhile, in the older version, it's really light. Everything is really bright in that older version of the game. If you look at the helmet itself, the shape is a bit different, especially towards the back of the neck area. It's also smoother and rounder in the new Call of Duty. It kind of looks like it's actually round. Meanwhile, in the older version, you can see the corners and the jagged edges and stuff like that. It's pretty much the same suit, except that it looks much better. You look at the elbow padding, and I believe in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the original, the elbow pads were just like just texturing. Meanwhile, on this one, it looks like it's an actual object, and like the little sleeves around the elbow pads are actually coming out. Now let's take a look at the gun here. If you look at the gun itself, the way he holds it is quite a bit better. It looks like he's actually holding the gun. Meanwhile, in the older version, it's kind of like he has his hand there, and it's supposed to look like he's holding it, but if you actually stop and look at it, it's kind of going through his hand. The model of the gun, it's actually quite a bit different. You don't have those ventilation holes on the top of the barrel right there on the newer version, but overall the gun looks much better in this version of the game. And that's pretty much it with that. Now let's head over to the mission Bog, Boots on Ground. That's one of the early missions in the game. It's also a multiplayer map called Crossfire, if you look at it from a certain angle. As you can see here, it's the same scene. I managed to get the exact same shot pretty much, which is freaking awesome. If you look at the newer version on the left, there's a lot of smoke, man. Like, there's a lot of smoke, a lot of little debris and particles and special effects going on. In the older version, there's not much. There's a little bit of fog in the background. And if you look at it, the tank, the lighting on the tank is different. In the older version, the lighting was, I don't know, it was kind of just, I don't want to say bland, but it was more unnatural. It looked good, don't get me wrong, because I was playing that map and I was like, wow, this thing looks good. The game still looks pretty good even to this day. It doesn't look natural. It doesn't look like a natural scene. Meanwhile, in the newer game, you can see the lighting is a bit harsher, so you have a bigger highlight on the top of the tank, and then it kind of gets darker on the bottom to give it that film kind of look to it. As you can see, the tank is moving, so it does have some dirt and stuff coming from underneath it, which is pretty cool. If you look at the building to the left, that building itself, it still has the same antenna on top. It still has the same windows and everything, which is good. I believe this is going to be one of the maps that's going to be on multiplayer, which is awesome because it's a good map. The thing that is missing here, if you look at the building on the top left, it's the little cover on top of the actual window itself, and also the roof of the building. It's a different kind of texture. On the older version, it looks kind of like it just squared off and it's blocky. On the newer one, it's kind of like tiles there up there. If you look in the background, the palm tree, I know I'm saying a lot of stuff, but if you look in the background here, the palm tree itself, it seems more natural in the newer version. It looks like the leaves are actually hanging down. In the older version, they're kind of pointy. Same thing with the background objects. There's more background objects in the newer version, as well as better looking objects. If you look at the background there, you can see buildings in the newer version, but they're not that visible due to the smoke and fog. In the older version, they kind of look funny because of the way anti-aliasing worked in Call of Duty 4, which I don't think the console version had it back in the day. Let's look at the tank itself. It's the same tank, except it looks more realistic here in the the newer version. Funny thing, if you guys notice the arrow on the tank, and the newer version is pointing to the left and the older version is pointing down, the little arrow. That's one of those funny things. Other than that, the model is just more refined. There's more edges, more stuff like that going on. It's pretty good looking. One thing that I did notice, if you look in the windows in the background, there's a sign up there, but also the windows, they have those covers that I was talking about. It was missing in the other building, but I think these move. I've seen some of the other pictures, and they seem to be like in different positions. Like the wind is probably moving it, which is pretty cool. The tracks, or the what you call those, the wheels on the tank itself, they're pretty basic, but they just look better. They have more dirt on them. They look kind of clean in the older version, which it kind of makes sense for them to be dirty and have a bit more of a wear and tear to them. Let's keep going here. This is my favorite one right here. This is the one that probably shows the most improvement in that first mission called what's the name of the mission? Crew Expendable. Yeah, that's the mission that I'm talking about. If you look at the background, everything in the background, you can see that there's just way more objects and pipes, and there's just a lot of stuff in the background. There's more stuff on the ground. The lighting is a whole lot better. Wow, just the background, it looks like they just grabbed the game from PC, the PC version, and they didn't just port it to the console and say, here you go, remaster. They actually, in my opinion, it looks like they remade it. Like they made new models for everything. The lighting is really impressive. It kind of looks, if you ask me, and I don't mean to upset anybody, it kind of looks like the Battlefield lighting. There's actually a mission in Battlefield 3 where you're in a submarine or a boat like that, and the lighting looks very similar. But it looks good. That's what I'm trying to get to. That's the point I'm trying to get to. It looks really good. If you look at the mask on what's his name, Captain Price, that's who he is. The mask, it looks really good. The ears, they don't look too good, but that's okay. The gun itself looks a whole lot better. I couldn't get him in the exact same shot because right there on the right side he was actually throwing a flashbang at me, fucking dick. But if you look at it, everything looks good. The mask itself, if you look at the centerpiece where he's supposed to be breathing in from, on the old version it's just a flat texture. On the new version it actually has some 3D detail to it. It looks pretty good. Everything just looks shinier. The lighting model is a huge improvement from the previous game. Look at all the little objects in his suit. It looks much better. The gun itself, like I said, does look better. You can't really see it, but it does. And I think that's gonna be it for this one here. Now let's hop over to the actual reveal trailer that came out a while back, or the teaser trailer. This is when he starts to smoke his cigar. If you look at his cigar here in the older version, it looks really good. The new version, it's kind of hard to see it because it has like that depth of field effect going on with it. The clothing looks a whole lot different. On the new version, it actually looks like he's wet. You can actually tell that he's wet from the rain falling down. In the older version, you really can't. The lighting, like I said, is a whole lot different. Looks more natural in the newer version. Let's see here. Let's go back. The character model for the guy next to him is a bit different. Also, the animations changed. I went through the animation to see if I can match the exact same one. I cannot. They actually changed the animations themselves, which means that they actually did a lot of work to get this remaster looking real good. Let me see here. If you look at his face, he actually looks a lot more natural in the newer version of the game. His beard looks better. It looks more natural. You can actually see some subsurface scattering going around his face. For example, his nose, you can see that there's light bleeding through his nose, if that makes any sense. His ear looks a whole lot better. I don't have an ear fetish or anything, don't think that way. Anyways, everything looks good. I mean, look at the wrinkles in his eyes and everything. He did have that in the older game, but it was more of a texture. In this one, it looks like it's more fine detailed, especially on his forehead when you see the water kind of falling down. It looks really good. And of course, he takes a puff of the cigar there. You can see smoke trails coming out of the cigar. You can also see the helmet. It has these little flaps on there. They're actually waving back and forth, which is really impressive. Let me see here. And then this shot right here, he actually he leans forward to look at the boat itself, and wow, look at the rain effects and everything. Look at the water effects. They're all different now. It looks much better. And I'm one of those guys that when I play Call of Duty 4, I actually played it on not PlayStation, on Xbox 360, and I was really impressed by this mission here because of the way the water was moving. But if you look at it now, just look at the way the cigar on the new version has the smoke kind of going with the wind. On the older version, it looks good if you look at it, but it is not going with the wind. It's just coming out forward. Either way, it's a beautiful looking scene right there. They actually went all out. Right here, he's going to rappel down. As you can see in the older version, you don't see your hands when you're going down. In the newer version, you can actually look at your hands, and you can also look at your legs, if I'm not mistaken. There you go. You can actually see some legs. Now, this is a scene where we can actually look into great detail at the changes they've done. If you look in the top of that tower right there, there's a lot of objects on there. You have an antenna, some ropes. Everything just looks a whole lot better. You have it looks like what is it, like a radio thingy spinning on the left side there. It looks real nice. On the older version, there's nothing on it. Can't really see much of anything else, but you can tell there's just more detail everywhere. The older version looks a bit too clean. If we go over to the scene right here where these guys are rappelling down for backup on the boat, as you can see on the wrecked container right there to the right, the lighting has actually changed. On the older version, it was more of a lightning, making everything flash all the time. See that? The little flashing going on. On the newer version, you really can't see much. Everything looks like it's been hit by a whole bunch of fog. I have to say that the older version looks real nice, but the new version just looks more realistic. Right here, this guy, he's rappelling down. I try to match it 1-to-1. As you can see, he gets down there, and you could barely see everything in the back. It has a real cinematic look to it, but his character model has changed quite a bit. I mean, he looks real nice now. Back then, he looked kind of blocky and just simple, you know, which is it's expected out of every game. Now we get to look at the tank again from that mission, Bog or Boots on Ground, however you want to call it. If you look at the tank itself, the tracks, or I forgot how you call this thing, but the actual wheels, like I said earlier, they're quite a bit dirtier, but they're also, you know, just the textures are much better. You can actually see dirt and grime and everything on the wheels itself. On the older version, they look real simple, and the way the chain itself moves, on the older version it was straight on natural. If you look at the new version, the way the chain moves, it has that curve going about it in the middle, which is really realistic. It looks real nice. It looks real nice. And this scene right here is actually the explosion from that ship mission right there. You really can't see much on the older version. Once the explosion goes off, your character kind of looks back to the side. But if you look in the newer version, he's still holding his gun, and it looks really detailed. That looks like a crazy explosion right there. You both fall back, as you can see right here. You can see the guy, your buddy, I think that's Gas, if I'm not mistaken. It's a real cool character. His character model has changed, like I said earlier, quite a bit. The explosion looks more explosive, if that makes any sense. Now we're going to hop over to this other scene. This scene right here is when you go to attack the broadcast station, which actually becomes a multiplayer map. Oh, I kind of fucked up on the editing there. I'll fix that later on. But if you look at this right here, you can see where the water effects is a lot better. You can see where the helicopter blades are actually pushing the water forward. The same effect is present on the old version, but it's not as nice looking. You can tell that there's, you know, something happening with the water, but not really what's going on. And if you look in the background, you can see where there's more cranes, more objects. It looks more realistic. Wow, this is a real big difference in terms of quality here. Let's head over to the other scene. I really couldn't match up the scene 1-to-1 on this one here, but as you can see, the helicopter itself looks a whole lot better in the newer version. The light, it looks more realistic when it hits the ground, and you also have that that filmic look. I forgot what it's called. Light flare, or like it's where the lights hit the camera or the player's view, and everything. You get that glare going across the screen. You can't see that in the older games. They don't have that in the older game. Right here's another point that I wanted to showcase. It's actually one of the biggest differences. If you look at that blue cover above the box, it's actually waving with the wind, and it looks really good. And the other one is just flat. It kind of looks pathetic once you think about it, but it's just flat going down. On the new version, however, look how nice that thing moves around in the wind. The lighting whenever the gun is shooting, the gun from the helicopter is shooting, the lighting is crazy. You can actually see every bullet impact. You can see all the metal just breaking apart as he shoots. Let me see here. Let's go back to that scene. But the lighting is like the biggest difference if you look at it. Let's head over here. And if you look at it, the ship actually has a name on it, and it looks quite a bit older in the newer version. This scene was a bit harder to capture, but I managed to get it. If you look at it, the lighting in the background is the biggest difference in my opinion, besides the character models, of course. If you look in the background, there's actually like no lighting. So the enemies are shooting at you. In the older version, there's no lighting. The enemies are shooting at you, and you have to shoot back at whatever the light flashes come from. In the newer version, they actually put light sources that way you can see the enemies. And wow, the building itself, it looks very similar. The one thing that I don't like about this scene right here is if you look at the fire effect, it looks kind of bad. It looks kind of like Call of Duty Ghosty. You know, Call of Duty Ghost had a pretty bad lighting effect on PC, and it looks kind of like that here. But you know, it's hard to tell. It could be just the way that video was being rendered. As you can see, also depth of field is a big effect. The character in the foreground looks kind of blurry. Meanwhile, the camera is focusing on the background on the newer version. So they have that effect on there that looks real nice. In the older Call of Duty, as you can see, it still looks pretty good in this scene right here. Just the lighting is the biggest difference. Not only that, but if you look at the detail on the ground, the actual texturing itself on the ground looks a whole lot better now. It looks more natural. The older one looks kind of flat if you look at it that way. Another scene that I really couldn't copy one-to-one, but I did try my best, is this scene right here. If you look at the soldiers, the ones in the foreground, they look pretty dark. So I'm guessing they're gonna have some sort of lighting technique that makes it look more realistic. And like I've been saying, lighting is the #1 thing that has changed, and that's, you know, that's true for every game, every kind of title out there. Nowadays, lighting looks real good, and that's what really makes a difference in games. As you can see, when that rocket gets shot, that light just blinds you, and it looks real nice right there. Or there's not rockets, those are bullets. So those tracers look real good in this game right here. The AI is still pretty good, I presume. And the older game is more basic. You know, once they shoot, if you look at it, it's just a light, a tracer flying across the screen. You can see that guy up there shooting, and the whole room lights up. It looks real nice. Now let's head over to the last couple of scenes here. This one I couldn't capture it. I didn't get the opportunity. It's pretty much more of the same from the previous scene, except it looks real good with that soldier running in the foreground there. Alright, this is the scene right here that really interests me the most. As you can see, the character's player model, it's not the same, but the animation seems to be the same. Look at the way the gun is being held. Look at the way the goggles come down when he puts on the goggles. One thing that did change is the field of view of the player's hand. In the newer version, you can see more of his hand, and his hand covers less of the viewable screen. In the older version, his hand covers up the whole screen. Once you put the goggles on right here, let's see, boom, it loads up. Now one thing you want to look at is the gun itself. The gun looks real nice in the new version. It looks really detailed. The older gun, although the model looks good, you can tell that it's starting to look pretty dated. If you look at the environment in the new one, wow, it looks like a real worn, torn area. If you look at all those bricks and everything on the ground, that looks impressive. On the right side, it still looks pretty good. Don't get me wrong, for its time, that was mind-blowing, but it does not look as good as the left side. As you can see, whenever that fire gets shot or whatever that is, if you look at the gun on the bottom right, it actually glows, and it looks pretty good. And one thing that I also noticed, right, and I did kind of try to do this one-to-one, is that the gun animation when you aim in is the same. The speed in which he aims in is pretty much the same, and that's good. What that pretty much means is that it's gonna keep, if I'm not mistaken, it's gonna keep the same gameplay feel, which is important for Call of Duty 4, because we don't want them to ruin it with all this sliding crap and all this jumping around stuff. I love Call of Duty 4 and I wanted to stay the same, but with better graphics, that's okay for me. I don't want it to turn to Black Ops 3. That's why we have the new game coming out. If you look at the the lasers in the air in that scene right there, they're all pretty much the same. You have all these lasers going up in the air. That's pretty cool. And then right there, you can see when he shoots the gun, everything starts to go blurry, and they try to cut it so you don't look at anything. But that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I know that I did. And let me know what you guys think in the comment below. Peace.